Why always the falling? Sand in my everywhere! Yes, an incredibly uncomfortable welcome to the Sandopolis zone. This level's gimmick? Egypt. Literally. We've got pyramids, sand, ancient ruins, sand, sadistic booby traps, sand, quicksand, more sand, hidden chambers, a bit more sand, and no water. All we need now is the face of Arnold Vosloo, sculpted in sand, chasing Brendan Fraser in a sop with camel, in a hilariously over-the-top action sequence involving more special effects than the collected edition of Voyager, culminating in the ritualistic circumcision of the Sphinx, and we've got the makings of a 90s blockbuster. We've also got things swimming in the quicksand, which I'll talk about in due time. Until then, we find these things. It's a brick that you need to push over a cliff onto a pseudo conveyor belt. These things come into play a lot in Act 2, so for now, we'll leave them alone and I'll talk about this thing instead. Rockin' is a robot that can't be killed by jumping on it, and also it can't hurt you, but it can push you into harm's way, for example off a cliff, into spikes or crushing traps, so kill it quickly with a spin dash to the crotch and your troubles are over. Since they have almost the same sprite as the breakable blocks placed around the stage, I would suggest caution. I would, if they were a threat, but since they move so slowly, it's easy to kill them before they can hurt you. Crushing traps and spiky pits are the main environmental hazard of this level. Quicksand, however, can kill you if it feels like it. There are times, however, where you can find a hidden route underneath it.
Choose for ego errors. You wish.
Right, Hypersonic. Where do I start with this one? I hate him. Simple as. I think he's an overpowered waste of time. The concept is simple and I get it. Collect 7 Chaos Emeralds and you unlock Supersonic, the protagonist's alter ego. He's fast, strong and almost indestructible. An optional extra awarded for completing the 7 special stages. Completing all 14 special stages and collecting the 7 Super Emeralds and you awaken Hypersonic. It's like the next level of Super Saiyan, only more likely to give you a seizure. He has the same abilities as Supersonic, with the added extras of being able to breathe underwater, which is completely pointless since there are no more underwater sections left in the game, and his signature ability to perform a double jump that destroys all non-boss enemies on the screen. Which is also pointless since he's too fast and erratic for precision platforming, meaning you can only reliably use him during a boss battle. I seem to be in the minority though, since most of the people I've spoken to seem to be under the delusion that this thing was a worthy addition to the game. Either way, I'm way too lazy to start an argument over him. Just consider this. Hypersonic has never been featured in any game since Sonic 3 and Knuckles, so someone at Sega shares my views. Regardless of what you think about him, his acquisition is necessary to reach level 14 and the good ending. And to be fair, he does have his uses, especially in Sandopolis Act 2, but we'll get to that later. For now, his existence is pointless. Thankfully, like Supersonic, this transformation can be cancelled by entering a bonus stage. The more observant among you may have noticed that I just acquired over 100 rings, but Sonic's life counter didn't increase. As far as I can work out, if your ring counter recently falls below 100 due to being consumed by Super or Hypersonic, then you won't receive a 1-up if your counter goes above 100 again, if that makes any sense. To be honest, I'm not sure if this is a bug or a deliberate program built into the game, but it prevents you from farming lives while in Super and Hyper form. If it's a bug, then fair enough, no game's perfect after all. But if it's a deliberate function built into the game, then it begs the question, why are we allowed to break the score multiplier in level 6 and farm hundreds of lives, and not in this manner? Not that you really need to farm lives in this game. I've got 46 right now, and I haven't really been looking for them. Getting back to the level, I'd like to talk about those blue worms swimming about in the quicksand. Normally, I'd talk about an enemy while it was on screen, but sadly I got sidetracked talking about Hypersonic and we never see them again. So once again, I'd like to employ my overlay function. Anyway, these things are sandworms, known as Gnarl in Japan. Like most worm enemies in this game, the weak spot is the head and everything else is deadly. You can easily spot them by looking for ripples on the surface of the quicksand. The ripples will vanish for about a second before the worm leaps out of the sand in the direction the ripples were moving in. Either jump out of their way, or attack the head to destroy them. The next enemy to be found here is one that always irritates me to breaking point. This is because I've never found a way to safely approach it. The Scorp is a scorpion-like robot that trundles slowly across the landscape. It attacks by swinging its mace-like tail in an arc over its head and into your face. I recommend extreme caution when dealing with these things. Their placement is such that if you get hit by them, you'll almost certainly be thrown into a crushing trap, spike pit, or over a cliff. And in Act 2 especially, this can be a nightmare scenario that can put the life works of H.R. Geiger to shame. My only recommendation is to try and attack these things from behind. That's a dead end down there. Bear with me, I know how to handle this. No. 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 Hi Derpy. Eggman's a prick. There we go. Ah, I finally found a use for a Nintendo game. Take your time, why don't you? Ah, there we go. What horrors lie in the depths of this ancient... It's a rock. It's a big rock. Was that it? Hello? Wake up. Shite. This thing is our sub-boss for the week, the Guardian. Not a robot as such, but an ancient golem creature tasked with guarding the pyramid. You can knock it over by hitting its head, but it always gets back up and jumps towards you. Thankfully, it's about as smart as gravel and will happily jump over you into the pit of quicksand to the left. Sometimes. Since quicksand is apparently the ultimate golem-killing medium, we can say goodbye to the Guardian and hello to the end of Act 1. Act 2 starts in the dark. Now, as much as I like dark purple, we can't have a Let's Play in the dark. Fortunately for us, the ancient Echidna race fitted their subterranean pyramid with light switches. Light switches that can somehow manipulate torches in the background. The game once again going down the route of having ancient technology that should have crumbled to dust centuries ago, yet works perfectly despite the lack of regular maintenance. Speaking of which, we also have these slidey switch thingies. I'm no electrician, so I've no idea what the hell they are. But before we get into them, we have to awaken the main threat of the stage. The Hyodoro are ghosts imprisoned within the level. Presumably by Dr. Robotnik, since they escaped from one of his animal prisons. But to be honest, I've got no idea. Since there's only about 5, maybe 6 robots in the stage, not including the boss, these things will be the main threat of the level. Basically, the torches in the background don't stay lit for long. The darker it gets, the more aggressive the Hyodoro become. When the stage becomes completely dark as it was at the start, the Hyodoro will attack, one by one until the lights are turned back on. There's a generous number of light switches around the level, so you should be safe enough for the most part. Just don't dawdle. The Hyodoro will vanish completely only when you fight the level boss. Flowing sand is a common sight in both acts, and can be used to reach hidden areas of the level. On slopes, the flowing sand acts like water and drags you along, much like the water slides of the Hydro City Zone. And for some inexplicable reason, when the sand isn't flowing down slopes, dragging you to your doom at the bottom of pits, or lying still on the desert, then it's defying the laws of nature, physics and gravity by flowing pretty much wherever it damn well feels like. It can be found flowing down cliffs, flowing back up cliffs, and along the walls and ceiling. Should you get caught in one of these localized twilight zones, pressing jump will either help you climb the sand flow, or aid in your escape. Take note, however, that these areas are often there to help you, so don't be too hasty to escape the flowing sand. Getting back to these conveyor bricks, there's not much to say about them that isn't painfully obvious. Push the brick over the cliff, and ride it to the end. In Act 1 they can be mostly ignored, but in Act 2 they're required to progress. Unless of course you're using Hypersonic's double jump to skip most of these puzzles, in which case, shame on you. Go sit in the corner. Abseiling is pretty easy. Press jump and Sonic abseils down the wall or swings across the room. These things can be safely ignored if you want, just watch out for spikes at the bottom. Remember I said Hypersonic is useful in this stage? Excuse me while I lose my shield on purpose to show you why.
You can't lie for shit, Seraph.
Watch it, Pixel Dick. Just remember who's controlling who. Now you don't need to be an expert in theoretical physics to realise that these slidey switches open stone doors. Stop pushing them and the doors begin to close. The amount of time you have differs from switch to switch, but the game gives you a few seconds leeway, so don't start panicking. You've got a time limit of 10 minutes for every stage, so you shouldn't have any trouble coping with a limit of a few seconds to reach the other side of a room. The real problems occur when you have to flood the chamber with sand, meaning you have even less time to work out what you need to do. And this is why Hypersonic is useful in this one stage. When you're not failing miserably to control this thing, like me, his double jump allows you to see the stage above you, and sometimes allows you to advance a few seconds sooner, giving you a bit more time to react to the situation. Playing this stage without him is entirely possible, and to be honest, Hypersonic's abilities don't really break the game, since you still need to wait for the sand to reach you to advance. But he does make this section easier. He also negates the threat of the ever-present Hyodoro, that would otherwise give Sonic a constant headache. There's nothing left in the level that I haven't talked about yet, aside from the level boss, so I can now start with the random trivia. In the original plan for the game, Sonic came to the Sandopolis zone straight from the Mushroom Hill zone. Quite a task in itself, since the Mushroom Hill zone is about 15 miles away with 2 other zones en route. This is because the Flying Battery zone was supposed to be between the Carnival Night and the Ice Cap zones. The original plan was to have Sonic launched out of a cannon at the end of Carnival Night and land on the Flying Battery. At the end of the Flying Battery, Sonic would break a panel off the ship and use it as a snowboard at the start of the Ice Cap zone, an idea which later surfaced in Sonic Adventure 2. And also, if you open the level select menu for Sonic 3, the Flying Battery zone can be found between the Carnival Night and Ice Cap zone, despite not actually being in the game. Despite playing most of this stage with a fire shield, I recommend trying to come to this bonus stage in an attempt to acquire a lightning shield or a water shield. The lightning shield will help Sonic advance through the timed door sections if you haven't unlocked Hypersonic, while the water shield won't help as much, but its bounce ability allows Sonic to reach areas he couldn't normally reach with a normal jump. Not as helpful, but more helpful than a fire shield. Much like I did in level 3, I'd like to mention that now I've collected all the Chaos and Super Emeralds, I will no longer be seeking the large warp rings. Again, if I remember the location of any, I'll do my best to show you where they are. Just remember, as I've said many times before, exploration is your friend. The time limit in each level is more than enough for you to deviate from the forward path to search for them. If you don't have Hypersonic by now, be wary that this level and the next level are the only levels left in the game where the warp rings can be found. The final puzzle is a bit more tricky than the rest, but simple in its own right. Push the switch and the door at the other end of the room opens up. Unfortunately, without Hypersonic or a lightning shield, the door is too high up the wall to reach. So use the moving platform to reach the top of the room, break the seal on the flowing sand, thus filling the lower half of the room, creating a platform so you can go through the door. And if you're quick enough, you should be able to reach the final warp ring of the stage. From here, fall down to the final chamber and confront the level boss. Bloody hell, these ghosts put me a bit on edge. Let's hope I don't get twitchy. Now, goddammit!
Sonic, begone, mortal! I am the egg god. Turn and leave, or suffer my laser thing. Peekaboo. Oh crap, this isn't going to go well, is it? Word of advice, Tubby. Don't build platforms on your death machine. I might be tempted to exploit them.
I dare say you'd happily exploit anything you could.
Believe it, round boy.
I dare say that thing of yours, Sonic, is overpowered.
Ah, says you with your orbital death fortress. Now go be a prick somewhere else. Sandopolis Act 2, complete. Oh well, it's not like I could fall any far. For fuck's sake!